So kids often ask, where's the limit button on my calculator? And the answer is there is not, because the limit is a process. So we can do that a couple of ways. Really, we're going to evaluate a function at a bunch of different places. So something I'm going to ask my kids to do is deal with sine of x over x near 0. And we could, of course, graph that. And if we do, we can grab values. I could find a value at, let's say, 0.1. So sine of 0.1 is 0.998. I could do that again. 0.01. And so on down the line. And that's, I don't know, it's at least better than typing a whole bunch of times, but kind of tedious. So you might notice right above the graph, there's a table. But there's a problem with the table. You can scroll up and you can scroll down, and we're just not going to get the values we want on these basic settings. So right above window, where you change the window settings, is the table settings. So it doesn't really matter where you start the table with. You'll see why in a minute, because, well, what that means is, on what we just saw, that first input value is going to be 0. That's the table start. Delta table 1, that's like, hey, the increment is exactly 1, as in if we did 2. That would mean when we go back to the table, we're just going to see multiples of 2, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We actually don't want that, because we kind of, if we're doing a limit, we want to change things quite a bit. We don't want a pattern in terms of adding 1, adding 2, or something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the independent variable to ask. We want this calculator to ask us what we want to put in. So you'll notice there's y1 here. Well, maybe let's make sure we get an error. 0 shouldn't work, which is true, because sine of 0 divided by 0 is undefined. And we can put in 0.1, 0.01, 0.001, and so on down the line. Now you might notice a problem, and that is this calculator is rounding quite a bit. So it's saying, hey, it's basically recognizing, hey, this is 0.9999999. I'll just tell you 1 because we don't have enough room for that. That's probably good. Before we figure out a better way to get better data, if you had a second function in here, let's say cosine of x minus 1 over x, the nice part is we don't have to type all those things twice. We get output data for everything. But you can see, hey, this isn't great data, especially if we want preciseness. So as always, the best way to get data is from the home screen. And if you want to call a function y equals, you don't hit y equals. It's actually hiding here on F4. There's another place it's hiding. So I'm going to do y1, and I want to evaluate that at 0.1. And I could do that again, alpha F4, y1 evaluated at 0.01 or something. Ooh. But because I have an 84, not an 83, I can also go back up and highlight, and I'll just kind of be lazy and type over. There we go. So that's a great way to go. Now, if you have a TI-83, or I don't know, you want to do things the hard way, you can also find these things under variables. So y variables, function variables, and we want y1. So you could grab it that way. So that's a great way to do a numeric limit.